streams that filter through this land of ours and fill a sportsman's dreams. Enjoy what nature holds for us, her bounty never ends. Getting back to basics with the practical sportsman. It's always an adventure, no matter where we go. From a favorite hunting spot to the hottest fishing hole. Outdoor life we all can share with family and friends. We'll do it all together with a practical sportsman. We'll do it all together with a practical sportsman.
Hi there, come on in. It is Thursday night, August 21st, 2003. My guides report sources are telling me that fishing is improving. Walleye and salmon are being taken in Michigan waters. But you know what's missing? The fishermen. Participation seems to be down this summer for whatever reason. I'm not sure, but I'll have a guides report nonetheless, because I'm Zachary Trost.
And I'm Fred Trost with a couple of features about deer, little refresher courses, things to keep in mind if you're a deer hunter, so stay tuned. Lots of outdoor news and information coming your way on this edition of the Practical Sportsman's Michigan. So why don't you just sit back and enjoy these features, and we're going to start off with a refresher course about deer behavior.
Canada geese. Their wings have whistled through the skies in increasing numbers over the past 10 years. And while there's probably a very good explanation, I haven't heard it. Goose numbers up, duck numbers down. That perplexes a lot of people. There are so many environmental factors that influence wildlife populations. Food, weather, predators. It's difficult to figure these out. But there are other internal factors that are just as perplexing. For example, how do certain animals at certain times adapt to conditions that these same species would not have tolerated a few years earlier? Well, only Mother Nature knows, I guess. White-tailed deer, same story. For a century, there were few whitetails in southern Michigan. I mean, it was a rarity to see a deer in the southern counties, and these were largely rural areas. Then in the years when human populations boomed across the southern part of the state, this animal that supposedly had shunned human beings for years all of a sudden decided that they liked the life around southern farms and southern woodlots and southern subdivisions and southern highways. In the 1980s particularly, white-tailed deer boomed, and nobody can really explain why. Now, there's a lot we don't know about deer. For example, why is this buck thrashing its antlers on this brush pile? Why do they rub and tear apart saplings in the fall? Well, deer expert Bob McGuire gave me an idea on this. Now, it might sound wacky at first, but maybe it's the only way a buck can determine the size of its own antlers. Now, this buck can't look in a mirror and probably can't see the antlers behind its ears. So it feels their size by rubbing. Now it's sunrise, mid-October, a time of day when deer are particularly active. A lot of them are up before dawn, but as the sun melts the dew, they begin feeding. Have you ever seen a deer sneeze? Watch. I guess deer have allergies, develop colds, and go through what other animals go through. But that buck sneezed so loud that John Ford, who was at least 100 yards away, could hear it. Hunters have traditionally gone after buck deer, and contrary to what some non-hunters might think, it really didn't begin because of their antlers. Most hunters go after meat for the table, and antler size is incidental. But the buck-only hunting began because one buck can easily breed with, say 10 does, and nature doesn't require many bucks in the herd. So hunters who removed bucks really weren't affecting the overall deer numbers because the does were all producing 1, 2, sometimes 3 fawns in a spring. Well, that more than made up for the bucks that the hunters harvested. 24 power lens, 200 yards away. This is a spike buck that walks like a doe. Well, I guess that isn't really correct. The spike buck walks like a deer that isn't tired, and most does aren't tired in the fall. But some bucks are tired. I mean, they're very tired. These are the breeding bucks, probably like the 8-point we're watching right here. Spike bucks don't get much of a chance to breed the does even if they want to, because the bigger bucks chase them away. These big bucks are ones that eat so little that they lose weight during their breeding frenzy. They sleep very little, and this buck with its stiff-legged, tired, achy-breaky walk looks like it's been chasing does and looks like it's feeling the toll. But it'll continue the relentless search for receptive does into December. Now see what's blocking our view right now? Leaves. Looks harmless enough. Good camouflage for a hunter. But these leaves and twigs and sticks and saplings are the reason I'm convinced many hunters don't get deer that are perfectly well in range. So many hunters set up a blind in a perfect location. They know where the deer will cross, the wind is right, everything A-OK. Except that when a deer walks by, it never gives the hunter a clear, decent shot. These little obstructions block the view and could block the view of antlers the hunter is looking for. Now, for some reason, hunters are afraid to get out of their blinds and pull down some of these dead limbs or break off twigs and make some clear visibility lanes. But this is important for gun hunters, particularly important for bow hunters. Trying to thread a bullet or an arrow through a mass of vegetation will almost always result in a deflection way off target. Now, buck fever, that makes it worse. You're shaking, you're breathing hard, you're focusing on that deer, which is worse if it's a buck, especially a big buck. Your eyes don't see these obstructions, but your bullet or arrow will find them, and you'll miss the opportunity you've waited so long for. The solution? Get out of your blind, even if you've just got there, and clear some visibility lanes for yourself. Now, you don't need a wide open field of view like this, although it's nice, but your chances of encountering a deer at close range are better if you're in the woods, rather than along the edge facing an open field. Now, open fields are great for visibility. A lot of does and fawns particularly use fields, and they leave a lot of tracks, which always excites hunters. But most buck hunters will tell you that the bigger bucks like to stay along the wooded side. They like the cover. Now here's a situation unfolding that a lot of you bow hunters will recognize. A decent deer is coming close enough and will end up presenting itself for a good, clean shot. But you have these clumps of darn leaves in front of you. In fact, they're within reaching distance. You wish you would have pulled them down when you first got in your blind. Next time, do it, and you'll have a clean shot. So here you are the next day. You cleared yourself some visibility lanes, which become shooting lanes. It's perfect, and that's how you can help ensure putting venison in your freezer. Now watch this small buck chase a doe. Now it's a short chase, and he gives up. He's not really a breeding buck anyway, but some primitive urge grabbed him and said, "What the heck? Maybe this doe will let me." Not. When a doe comes into heat, she'll seek out bucks, and she's certainly not going to seek out the spike bucks. She'll look for the breeding bucks, the 4 or 5-year-olds with the big racks. She knows which ones she wants and where they hang around. Now we're going to watch a deer. I don't know whether it's a doe or a button buck, but it's taking a tinkle, as they do many times a day throughout the year. Behind it comes a big buck, the breeding variety, but he passes right over the urine spot without even stopping. The impact of deer urine on other deer has been a long-held misnomer. Even when it's fresh, it oftentimes doesn't hold that magic spell that so many people had thought. Now, I thought this buck might have found another urine spot, but it comes up chewing. Well, it found some grass or something to eat. The most underrated sense of white-tailed deer has got to be their eyes. No matter which way the wind is blowing, they can spot danger, or they can spot a doe in heat. A buck can tell by a doe's reaction visually if she's in heat. He uses his ears because deer communicate by grunting and making low noises that hunters don't often notice. Now look at this buck use its ears like movable radar detectors. Another thing that has perplexed hunters over the years is what scares deer and what doesn't. Now, while they're next to each other, they're making noises, and off in the distance, over the hill, deer approach, walking, breaking twigs, sometimes shuffling their feet. Now, oftentimes, it makes a deer curious about what's coming, but they don't often get alarmed. Now, as a hunter, you've probably walked up on deer that may have heard you, maybe not. If you walk a slow, steady pace and don't try to sound like you're sneaking the way predators do, a deer may assume that you're another deer, and they'll withhold judgment until they see you. Then they know by the way you walk that you're a predator, and they're gone. A snort, which is an alarm sound made by a deer, can startle other nearby deer. Watch, it happens right here. Deer get spooked because one deer puts out an alarm. So what they do is they all look around, they peer around, they stare, listen, smell the wind. Even from 100 yards away, they might not remember a figure like John Ford standing behind a tree. I mean, the tree doesn't look like it did yesterday, but why doesn't that squirrel running around scare them? Squirrels make a lot of noise, but it never seems to bother deer. Maybe it's because squirrels are lightweight. They just don't vibrate the ground the way larger predators do. I mean, that's just a theory of mine, but it could be true. Deer have sensitive hooves, and they could feel large animals walking. Now, speaking of large animals, compare the thin neck on this doe to the thick neck on that big buck. The swelling of the neck is something that happens with breeding bucks. Spike horns and young bucks don't tend to get the necks like this in the fall. They stay more like the does, but when they get older and become the breeders, their necks, and usually their antlers, both become quite large. Now watch behind this buck as the squirrel scampers up the hill. Now it's making noise, but none of the deer care. Rustling leaves don't automatically scare deer. They know what a squirrel sounds like. Now most of these deer at this moment are looking John Ford's direction, which is towards us as we watch the TV screen. Now he's snugged up beside a tree. He's camouflaged from head to toe, including the camera. But it could be he made a move that didn't look natural to one of the deer. Or maybe they heard the camera click on or off. Those ears are massive, and while we don't think their eyes are that good, trust me, they're much better than you think. As far as their noses, well, in this situation, the noses of all those deer are giving them no help. The wind is coming over the top of the hill from the left to the right, angling down towards John. So those deer are upwind, and there's no way those deer can smell him unless they walk around and get behind him. So we know it's their eyes and ears that they're using to detect downwind danger. Trying to figure out the behavior of white-tailed deer. Well, I think until they can talk, there's a lot that we'll never know. Being a Youper, what do you call this deer hunting facility?
Well, you call it a menagerie of materials that have been left over from a lot of things. It's just a blind.
A blind, not a shack?
Not a shack, no, a blind. I don't know why you call it a blind. It's just called a deer blind.
And how long has this been here?
Oh, probably 15 years.
What in the world? What in the world do we have here?
It's an old broken Jeep windshield that had to be replaced. So you put that in, and it protects you from the elements. Like I say, it's a hodgepodge of materials that are thrown together, and then tar paper.
Well, you're not going to shoot through the windshield, for crying out loud.
No, that's what this opening is for.
Okay, so you switch over to that opening. Yeah,
Switch over that opening, and well, here's the mirror. So when I'm sitting in my chair, looking out here through these openings, through the mirror, I can look at the path back here.
So you have, okay, this isn't a real big mirror.
No.
Oh, and it comes right out.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, well, let's grab that out of there.
Yeah, all it is I've always hunted with mirrors, so you can see what's going on in back of you, too. Here it's not as important as where I used to hunt, but
I feel
the number of deer that I have seen, of bucks that have come, and if it wasn't for the mirror, I would have never seen them back there.
I feel so stupid. I mean, I'm supposed to be the practical sportsman. I've read all kinds of deer hunting books. I've talked to all kinds of deer hunting experts, gone to all kinds of seminars, and taught seminars. Never once have I ever read, heard about, in all of the literally thousands of deer hunting stories at our banquets, never once has anybody ever mentioned using a mirror.
Well,
It seems so obvious.
it's a lazy man's way of hunting, and I guess we just don't want to talk about that theory too much. But
Where did you get that idea?
well, I'd come out of my blind many times, and I'm spooking deer. They were running in back of me. My hearing's bad. I wear hearing aids now, and I can't hear deer. I've got to see them. And, I'd spook so many deer when I come out of my blind. I said, well, there's got to be a way of catching these deer, or even knowing if there's one there before I get out of my blind without moving a lot. So you put two and two together, and you put one mirror on each side. That's two, I think.
Too easy, too practical, too logical. It's perfect.
Can we patent that idea?
Well, I think if anybody could, you could. In fact, you go back and pass a law right now and maybe require mirrors or something, safety mirrors. Holy cow, that is a great plan. And has it worked? Has it been worth it?
Oh, it's worked. Not out of this hunting spot, but where I used to hunt. Well, probably 3 or 4 bucks I have shot, and I would have never known they were there without that mirror.
Wow.
They were just crossing all over the area. It was a good hunting spot, but I would have never known they were there.
And over the years, there's been, of course, the scent thing that was hot 10 years ago, and then we had the decoys, the calls, the rattling, mirrors. For 1999, deer hunting tip of the year, mirrors.
One on each side.
They're going to sell like hotcakes this week.
Yeah, they probably will. All you do is get a no mirror that's broke and take it to a good glass cutter. Get your own glass cutter and cut it out. It doesn't have to be fancy.
Wow. That's a great idea. Doug, you're a genius.
I don't know.
You're a genius. That's like inventing the turn signal or something.
Nah, it's just being a fun sportsman.
A fun, practical sportsman. That's great. That's great. It's going to be mirrors this year. This is a fine, fine facility you
It
have.
doesn't look good. It's permanent, but it's on my property and keeps the weather out. It's a good place to listen to a football game on a fall afternoon.
Listen?
Well, sure.
No antenna?
Have your ear.
No antenna? No TV?
No TV. You got to be looking.
Hey, you got mirrors!
Well, but you got to be looking. With the TV, you're looking at the TV. With the earphones, you can still be looking.
You're not going to carry it that
Sometimes
far.
you fall asleep, but
You have fallen asleep.
many times.
Isn't it great?
That's some of the best times. If you want to get out of work at camp, you come out here and take a little nap.
It's great.
Well, now here's a smallmouth bass, 21 1/4 inches, that Zachary Snyder from Lansing caught on the 5th of July up in Big Bay, Denok, Delta County, huh?
Yep.
So tell me about this. You seem, quite talkative. Keep going. You started good. So what do you think about fishing so far?
Hold on. When I go up to Big Bay and Knock, this year I think my whole family is gonna go up there, and the next time, me and I think my cousin Joe and Travis, my best cousin in the world, is gonna go up there.
And you're looking forward to that as a family event?
Yep.
And what are you going to do besides fish?
Shoot my baby gun up there,
That's cool.
and if there's a bear up there, I'll just scare him away.
I bet you will. That'll be fun. Well, good man, Zachary Snyder up to the UP, and you have fun this summer with the family, okay? We're also preparing for Labor Day weekend at Warblers Cove. Now, several things have changed over the summer in our approach to activities, especially with kids. Now, 2 weeks ago, we put on some demonstrations for kids on how to make fire starters out of newspaper and melted wax. Campfires are so important to the enjoyment of camping, and kids need to learn about making fires, keeping them safe, how to start them. Campfires are the places where ghost stories are told. You can cook over them. Well, over Labor Day weekend, we'll have more sessions with kids and their parents making different kinds of fire starters, using compasses, learning about ropes and knots. We'll be demonstrating and teaching basic skills that make the outdoors just more fun. Now, there's open camping for the public at Warblers Cove this Labor Day. And naturally, reservations are recommended. You know, this is one of the biggest camping weekends of the year.
Get outdoors this weekend if you can. Take a kid fishing or camping. And Fred and I will see you right back here next week.